Here we go. This is what you showed up to the stream for. It's Justin Boone from Yahoo joining us, everybody, to talk league-winning sleepers. That's right. And just waking up from a nap, Andrew Erickson, also a sleeper a little bit. He was working so hard for the first few hours. We gave him a little bit of a break. We plugged him back in, and now he is back ready to rock and roll. Justin Boone, first of all, congratulations on the new landing spot. We've been friends for a very long time here, and I'm very excited to see that you landed a new spot. It's a great new opportunity and well-deserved, my friend. How is life going for you over at the Yahoo these days?
It's fantastic. It's, everything I dreamed and more. It's also made for an interesting summer because normally I would start producing my draft content in like May, right after the actual NFL draft. And there was a little bit of time off there before I actually started at Yahoo. So it's felt like a little bit of catching up, but I've been telling everybody the content will be there. I'm getting everything out like usual every season. I'm in the middle of putting out my draft strategy series this week, right before the big draft weekend. So it feels a little more pressure this year because it's like a condensed amount of time, but it's been a ton of fun. And I just made it. I just got to meet Debro. That was the highlight of my summer. I went to the Fantasy Expo and I got to hang out with Derek Brown himself. I am sad that we are back to him ducking me on this show, which he seems to do all the time. And yet I love hanging out with you guys. I love doing shows with you guys. So happy to be here.
Well, he was at my house for 4 days in a row. So, I had plenty of quality time with Debro. Usually Andrew Erickson's at my house for that week too. But Andrew Erickson, unfortunately, had a wedding to go to. And he knows. Andrew, you went to a wedding of your own. Was it last June, I believe? And playing catch up, as Boone was saying, sometimes when you take a little vacation for yourself, that can be kind of tough.
Yeah, it can be a little overwhelming at times where you're like trying to figure out, catch up on all the news. It's like Caleb Williams learning the Ben Johnson offense. You're drinking through a fire hose. It's all coming down on you. What are you going to do? But you find a way to get it done, and you prioritize things. You get it done.
All right. Well, we're going to turn on the spigot full of sleepers for you right now. And let's start with one of Justin Boone's, a running back that I've been targeting in a lot of drafts. I've talked about a ton on the show. A guy who was handed the workload on a silver platter in San Francisco last year, and Jordan Mason ate it up until, unfortunately, the wheels did come off at the very end, but it was a good time while it lasted. Justin Boone, there's a lot of rumors here that he could be more of the 1A to Aaron Jones 1, and this is a back that proved the workload was not a problem. So why are you high on Justin Mason this year? Walk me through your thoughts of this new landing spot in this Kevin O'Connell Vikings offense.
Jordan Mason. I think you combined my name with his name there and called him Justin Mason.
Oh, did I call him Justin Mason? Oh my God. No, you know what I mean? I did do that. And Justin Mason, also friend of ours from the baseball side. So Freudian weird slip there. Also friend of the show, but on the baseball side. So Jordan Mason, Justin Mason, all the Masons. Let's start with Jordan Mason here. Justin Boone, talk to me about Jordan Mason.
Well, it seems like we've seen this movie before. Like this feels like a sequel, right? Like in San Francisco last year, he was behind an older back who had injury concerns, and he gets his opportunity and he blows up over those first 7 games, 108 yards from scrimmage per game in those contests. He showed he can do it. And we know a lot of backs have shown that they can do it in San Francisco, but can they do it elsewhere? Now he goes to Minnesota, where this is such a great environment. This is an offense that I want to buy into for fantasy basically every way I possibly can. And Mason is one of the very cheapest ways to do it. And you look at what they have there. Aaron Jones, somebody who I have loved for a long time, somebody who I have recommended in fantasy more years than I have not. And yet he's on the wrong side of 30. He's had all these like injuries every single season. I mean, we could go over it here. 2024, quad, ribs, hip. 2023, MCL sprain, thigh, hamstring. 2022, ankle, knee. 2021, MCL sprain, thigh, hamstring, ribs. And to his credit, he only actually missed 7 games during that stretch, but he did play hurt a lot of times. Like he battled through, but I think the Vikings, they see what's happening here. They knew they needed to get someone. They went out, they made the move to get Mason and didn't really bring in anyone else. So that tells you what they think of him. They also made a bunch of other moves this year. They've improved the offensive line. Ryan Kelly's there now. Will Fries, that's upgraded. We know the defense, Brian Flores' defense is really good there. They've added some pieces, especially up front there. This is going to be a really good team. I think JJ McCarthy is the answer. I think he's going to be a very good NFL quarterback, and he's in this environment where Kevin O'Connell is the quarterback whisperer. He's managed to get good performances out of basically any quarterback that's under center in Minnesota. So now Mason is in this situation where he's behind an older back in Aaron Jones, who has had these soft tissue injuries. He's had these lower body injuries. I think there's a good chance we could say that he might miss some time this year. And even if he is out there, like you said, there's a shot based on everything the team has said, based on everything the beat writers have said. This looks like it's going to be pretty close to 50-50, and that there's a chance that Mason could be overtaking him and could be the long-term answer there for them. So just so high on him. To get him where he can get him in the later rounds, there's like no risk at all. I end up taking him earlier than that just to make sure that I get him. I think he's a guy that could give you a RB3 production with some RB2 weeks when he finds the end zone, and that's with Aaron Jones out there. And knock on wood, we don't want to see it happen, but if Aaron Jones goes down, we're putting Mason right inside the top 12 for fantasy.
Andrew Erickson, you're on the wrong side of 30. Do you have any thoughts on Jordan Mason?
Well, I may or may not have a ticket on Jordan Mason to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns at 75-1. So I am all in on buying the upside case with Jordan Mason, especially if he's able to carve out a goal line role in this offense, because that's where Aaron Jones struggled last year. Again, going back to my betting success and failures, betting on anytime Aaron Jones touchdowns was not profitable last season because he was constantly getting stuffed at the goal line. So I don't think that it's by accident they went out and acquired Jordan Mason to operate in between the tackles where Aaron Jones is better in space, catching passes out of the backfield. So I'm really glad that Justin included this one, because if he didn't, I was going to put him on my list.
Justin Mason, Jordan Mason, Perry Mason, Vikings win the division. That's what I say. All right, let's get to one of Andrew Erickson's sleepers here. And let's start at the tight end position. Tucker Kraft, that's where you're going here. A guy being drafted right around the 10th tight end overall. You see the ECR, the ADP, they align. So the stars potentially aligning here for Tucker Kraft in 2025, Andrew?
Yes, because I think that when it's all said and done, he's going to emerge as the number one target on this Green Bay Packers passing offense, because it's a wide receiver room filled with, let's be frank, let's call it what it is, betas. There's a lot of beta wide receivers. I don't think there's a true alpha number of receivers. I think there are receivers that are nice, that are good complementary pieces. But I think when you're looking for an alpha pass catcher, I think that guy can be Tucker Kraft. LaFleur has talked about Tucker Kraft playing in a similar role to a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle. And if you look at from the second half of the season last year, from week 7 onward, Tucker Kraft led the Packers in receiving yards, receptions, and routes run. And I also go back to the number one thing I look at for tight ends when it comes to, how good is this guy, is yards after the catch. Like, what do they do when they get the ball in their hands? And last year, Tucker Kraft led all tight ends in yards after the catch per reception. Who led that category in 2023? The top 2 guys, Jonnu Smith, George Kittle. Both guys were top 4 tight ends the following season. So I think Tucker Kraft, he's the reason why I can't commit to you have to go elite tight end, because I always know that I can get Tucker Kraft later on. And I'm very confident that he is going to be someone that we're talking about next year. When we're talking about, okay, who are the elite tight ends we have to get? Tucker Kraft is going to be part of that conversation. Get him now.
Tight end 10 last year going into draft season was actually Brock Bowers, if you all recall. Tyler Warren going as the 11th, Tucker Kraft as the 10th. Boone, you have any love for Tucker Kraft or maybe Warren or another one of these tight ends you think could be a sleeper?
Well, I just wrote my 7 players who are going to lead you to a title this year, and I wanted to put an elite tight end in there, but I decided to go elite quarterback instead, and that's why I went with Tucker Kraft as the tight end in that article. And there's so many reasons why. I mean, you just hit on a bunch of them there, but another huge one is just they've said all offseason long they want to get him the ball more this year. Like, Jordan Love has straight up come out and said, we are focused on trying to get him the ball more this year. Now, it ended up with him getting, I think it was a little groin injury this month. So hopefully he's okay for the season. I don't think it's anything too concerning. They were just shutting him down a little bit there so that he can be healthy, because yes, I think he's going to be a focal point of that offense. And when you're looking for that late round tight end that could blow up, you want a guy who could potentially be a top 2 target in his offense, and he definitely can.
All right, let's get to another one of Justin Boone's guys here. Before we do, don't forget football season is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and you ride your roster all season long. And right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play for free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. Just draft your team once. No weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week across the whole season. Every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count towards your quest for a share of $15 million. So download the DraftKings daily fantasy app right now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million and get a second ticket to play for free for a share of $15 million. Again, that's 2 chances to win big without ever setting a lineup again. Draft one, get one, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's get another sleeper here. And I got to tell you, Justin Boone, I know you're Mr. Buffalo Bill. You got to sell me on Keon Coleman because it was a big disappointment last year. Everybody loves the kid. He's a good guy. We're rooting for him. They brought in Josh Palmer. Why is Keon Coleman a sleeper that people need to be drafting this season?
Well, I want you guys to tell me if this is the homer take, because I've been known to never go homer takes when it comes to the Bills. If anything, I've gone the opposite way. But now that Josh Allen's there, it's a little easier to buy into this offense in the last few years. And I think last year when they drafted Coleman, they did draft him in hopes that he could eventually become that number one target for Josh Allen. Now, when rookies show up, one of the first things I'm trying to figure out is like, do they belong? Do they look like they're going to need a little time? Or do they look like they're not going to be in the NFL very long? And I think when Coleman got there, to me, it was pretty obvious that he was one of those guys that was going to take a little bit of time, was going to need to figure out how to win in the pros. And then the season started and he comes out and just based on like the ball skills and the size, he starts putting up like okay numbers. Like he posted at least 50 yards or a touchdown in 4 of his first 5 outings, which to me was a little better than I expected because I thought it was going to be more of, and not that they're the same player, but more of like a Rashee Rice rookie season where the Chiefs kind of brought him along slowly. And then in the second half of the year, he erupted, right? Coleman comes out, starts putting up like okay numbers, nothing crazy, but a little more production than I expected. And then he looked like he was getting kind of comfortable around week 7, week 8 that year, 4 for 125 in week 7, 5 for 70 and a touchdown in week 8. And now it's like, oh my God, okay, the Rashee Rice thing is happening even earlier than I thought. He's coming on and then he gets hurt. And then when he comes back, he's not really the same player. He's not worked in the offense the same. And it kind of just derailed his season. But now this offseason, everything we're hearing is that he's an improved player, that he looks great, that the connection is there with Josh Allen. Is there still some inconsistency? Yes, of course. He's a very young player and he is still trying to figure out how to win in the pros, but he's the kind of guy that could put up a double-digit touchdown season. It would not be that difficult for him in this offense with the type of player that he is. Then you bake in Khalil Shakir is hurt right now, high ankle sprain. Is he going to be ready for week 1? I'm not so sure. I don't love the fact that they're going out and working out other receivers. They got Gabe Davis coming back in for a workout. What does that tell you about some of the injuries they have there? Josh Palmer also been dealing with a groin injury in training camp. And I think he's been trying to like battle through that. But when you see him at practice, it looks like he's struggling a little bit. So hopefully he can get healthy. But all of this is pointing to Keon Coleman having an opportunity at the beginning of the season to really establish himself as an alpha in this offense, as a guy that can make a ton of plays. You can question whether the Bills will ever have like a true number one receiver again, because they got rid of Stephon Diggs a couple of years ago. And I think they've really enjoyed under Joe Brady spreading the ball around. But like I said, Coleman's the kind of guy that could just do it himself, could put up 10 plus touchdowns in this offense. So I think he's somebody where you're getting him, there is no risk at all. And you could potentially come away with a guy who is in his second season, where receivers often can break out in their second season, a guy that could be the number one in this offense. I think there's so many things to like about him. And when you get to the later rounds, there aren't that many receivers that have that kind of upside. I think he's one of them.
Keon Coleman at 51, wide receiver overall, or Josh Palmer, wide receiver 66, Andrew Erickson. I put that question to you.
Hate you, Joe. Why do you have to put me on the spot like that? I think
you're
for
a fantasy
me,
pro or you're not. I
think for me.
take.
So if that's what I have to decide between, I think I will go with Josh Palmer, just because he's free, and there are still some other guys in the Keon Coleman range that I still like a little bit more. Whereas Josh Palmer, I mean, he was before Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt became a 3rd round pick. I was taking him in the last round, but now Josh Palmer's kind of like my new favorite last round pick. And that's because I think, Boone, you laid out a really good point where if it's not Keon Coleman, or just talking about the Buffalo offense in general, someone's going to break out from this offense. Because if Khalil Shakir is missing all this time, Josh Allen is developing chemistry with somebody else that's playing a full complement of snaps. And Joey P, I know that you think James Cook's going to score 30 touchdowns again. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily. And if those touchdowns go somewhere else, well, that means Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid or Josh Palmer, one of these guys is going to have a monster year, and they're all going outside the top 100 picks. So I think that scooping up some value in Buffalo makes a ton of sense. I do think that Coleman, probably from a just pure ceiling perspective, I think he probably has the highest ceiling as a year 2 guy that led the team in red zone targets. He would be the guy that I would bet on scoring double-digit touchdowns. Now, is that always consistent production? Not necessarily. Whereas maybe Josh Palmer, as the best separator, I think, on the team, maybe can consistently draw more targets from Josh Allen. And then Dalton Kincaid, it's really been a health issue with him. So I agree just buying Bills players at a discount. But I think that if you're gun to my head, if I have to pick between Palmer and Coleman, I think I'll just take the cheapest guy.
Give me the 20-year-old year 2 receiver, the big-bodied guy. Yeah. Give me him over the player. And Josh Palmer, who's had some nice performances over the years, but he's had a lot of time to show what he can do, and he's never really established himself. But I will also throw this idea out there. Why not draft them both? If we're trying to get the Bills' number 1 receiver with where these guys are going, you could take them both in the late rounds and then hopefully a hit.
Now, look, you've done a good sell job on Keon Coleman. I will give you that for sure, Justin Boone. And Andrew Erickson, that James Cook throwdown for the touchdown sounds like a wager to me. Sounds like you
want to what do you want to set the line at, like 15?
Well, everybody told me last year Kyron Williams can't score 12 touchdowns again, and he didn't. He scored 14 last year. So we'll see. I'm in on James Cook. So there you go. We'll take that one to the
I'm not saying to be out. I'm just saying he's not going to score as many touchdowns as he did last year. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? I'm getting salty here in my old age. I'm going to take that bet. Let's go for more. Let's go more than last year. We'll see. We'll set the ladder on betting pros.
I hefty amount.
Speaking of running backs, let's get to one that Andrew Erickson is high on. He's not the first or second guy necessarily on the depth chart right now for the Jaguars, but it's Bhayshul Tuten, who certainly was breaking the combine in terms of speed. So let's talk about how you approach this Jaguars backfield and why Tuten is the guy that you like, Andrew.
Well, I think it's about not how you start, it's how you finish. And Bhayshul Tuten is a bet on a rookie running back taking on a larger role in the second half of the season. Because I agree with you. Right now, the Jaguars' backfield is kind of a mess. It seems like it's going to be a two-headed monster to open the year between Etienne and Tank Bigsby operating, either Bigsby on early downs, Etienne on passing downs. But if the Jaguars find that they're not really getting the production that they want from that type of duo of back, well, why they not turn the backfield over to the explosive guy that they drafted in this year's draft with Bhayshul Tuten, who they took at the beginning of round 4 in a full Bucky Irving kind of second half takeover. When you look at the metrics from Sports Info Solutions for Bhayshul Tuten, it's something that really opened my eyes to him. So he was first in the class in broken tackle rate per 100 dropbacks. When you look at who finished first in that category last year in last year's draft class, it was Bucky Irving. So I don't think that Liam Cohen picked Bhayshul Tuten as his running back from this draft class by accident. Like, they went out specifically to draft him as a tackle breaking machine that's super explosive. And Etienne, I think, has lost a little bit of his juice just with some of the injuries that he's dealt with over the last couple seasons with all the touches. Tank Bigsby, we know, can deliver big plays, but he's not a huge factor in the passing game necessarily. So I think that Tuten goes now where he's free in drafts. You can just stash him at the end of your bench. And I think that there's some upside here, especially when you look at the Jaguars the Jaguars schedule. It's a lot like Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule last year, where second half of the season, remember we talked about this on the trade show, myself and Welsh, you got to trade for Bucky Irving. The Buccaneers have like the best schedule in the second half of the season. Jacksonville has something similar to that. Now that can change a little bit depending on injuries and how defenses shake out. But if that second half schedule holds, I think Tuten could be a league winner in the second half of the season. So for me, he's going cheap enough where I like stashing him as a bench player.
All right. How do you approach this backfield, Boone? Because I'm taking Etienne at the 32nd running back overall because I think he's the guy that fits the Liam Cohen quote unquote style offense personally. And he's only a year removed from being the RB3. And I feel like all of us somehow got drunk this season and forgot that that actually happened. But I was sober for the majority of 2024 and 2023. And I remember that. So you tell me, Justin Boone, is it Tuten? Is it Bigsby? Is it Etienne? Who's the best return on investment in this backfield?
Return on investment, I got to go with Andrew. I got to go with Tuten based on the fact that he's the cheapest one. But here's the thing, and not to have the exact same take as I had about the Bills receivers, but I'm taking shots on all of these guys. Now, I still am of the belief that I think one of the vets are going to be gone at some point, whether that's before the season, whether that's before the trade deadline. I think they're going to move on from one of those guys. I think the way that they've used them in the preseason has actually been them maybe showcasing those guys a little bit. But right now, it seems to me like a Tank Bigsby and Tuten combo would make a lot of sense. And, Bigsby even catching a ball last game and actually, gaining 19 yards. That wasn't much of a catch, but he made a nice little play going across the field and picking up a bunch of yards with it. I think any one of these guys could emerge. But I think Travis Etienne, for me, looks like a guy that his best shot might be on another team because there's almost like a better version of him on this team. Tuten can be that more explosive guy. You have their general manager, James Gladstone, loves this guy so much that he brought him up in the interview when he interviewed for the job as somebody that they should target. And then they go out and get him. So I think they have plans for him in this offense. And he just looks like he's shot out of a cannon. He looks different than the other backs on this team. And I think Liam Cohen, I have a lot of faith in him, what he did last year, what he could potentially do with this offense. I agree with Andrew. I think we're going to see as the year goes along that it's eventually going to be Tuten's backfield. It might take a little while, but that's why you're getting him fairly cheap right now. And you can sit on it and hope that eventually he emerges. And I'll say in one of my home leagues, I had my draft on the weekend. I did not plan to go basically with like a 0 RB approach going in, but that's just kind of how it worked out. And I took a bunch of backs. Tuten was one of them. And the next guy that we're going to talk about here was also one of them, just stocking up on these late round backs. I think it's such a smart approach.
You can see one of the crazies in the chat here, some guy named Derek Brown. If ATN is the dude, you don't draft Tuten if you're Jacksonville. Yeah, you do when ATN is in the last year of his contract and you burn and churn him because it's the NFL. And then you have the guy you want next year and you have a whole year in the system already. That's why you do it. All right, let's get to that tease that Justin Boone dropped there. The tease basically was for another running back, and his name is Braelon Allen. So walk me through why Braelon Allen is gaining so much helium this offseason.
So he flashed as a 20-year-old rookie last year. Now, the team wasn't great, and some of those metrics weren't good. The offensive line got decimated. I get it, but he had moments last year. Like I said, when I'm seeing a rookie, I want to know, do they belong? He looked like he belonged, and he looked like he belonged at a very young age, right? Then he comes into this offseason, and like you said, all we're hearing is hype about him. The team loves him. He looks great in practice. We have some of the bigger national reporters like Albert Breer saying that they've heard a bunch of stuff that's suggesting that he could have a monster year and that what we're seeing in the preseason is only backing that up. Now, some of that is just off-season talk, but when you hear enough of it, you start to wonder, does this new coaching staff really, really like Allen? It seems like it. Now, he's going to have to share a backfield with Breece Hall, we think, because Breece Hall's been someone that's been floated out there in potential trade rumors. Again, another guy, could we see him get moved before the season? Could we see him get moved before the trade deadline? I think all of that is totally possible. But even if he sticks around, this coaching staff has talked about using a committee in this backfield. And we have Aaron Glenn and their offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrom. They're coming from a team with the Lions who used multiple backs very successfully. Now, the Jets are nowhere near what the Lions offense was, but it at least gives you some hope that they're going to get multiple backs involved. Allen, to me, profiles as potentially that bigger back, that goal line guy, somebody that could come on here. And he was so young last year. Could we see some improvement to now 21 years old? Could he come into his own? I don't want to make direct comparisons to Derrick Henry because, again, not the same player. He's not quite as big as Henry. He's not quite as ferocious. And who is Derrick Henry? There is only one Derrick Henry. And yet, Derrick Henry's first season, remember, he was behind DeMarco Murray. He didn't have great production. And then eventually he came on and became that player. I think we could see Allen slowly take over this backfield this year, whether Breece Hall's there or not, because Breece Hall does not seem happy. He can't be happy watching these other guys get contracts. He's on his last year of his deal. He's not getting a deal there. So you wonder, where's that going to go? And is this going to result in Allen either being a valuable part of a committee or potentially taking over this backfield? I think all of that is in play this year. And again, another guy that you're getting so late that there's just no risk involved in taking him.
Yeah, I believe Derrick Henry was in a timeshare with Dion Lewis once upon a time there. Good job, Arthur Smith. Way to hit that one out of the park. All right, give us the 1 minute version of why Drake Maye is the greatest quarterback that ever lived. Because that's where Andrew Erickson is right now. He's ready to go. He hasn't been this excited for a Patriots season in quite some time. And I don't blame you. I am also excited. But in all honesty, let's talk about him because we've got some of us here, Fantasy Pros, who have him a top 10 ranking as a quarterback, and he's going as the 16th or 17th Andrew off the board.
I mean, he's the ultimate bet at late round quarterback. You have the rushing upside with him. He averaged over 30 rushing yards per game last year when he was healthy. And that's how you become a top 12 fantasy quarterback, is you add a rushing element. And the environment around him was so terrible last year. And that was despite the fact that he was still throwing at least one passing touchdown in all of his starts last season. despite playing with a garbage offensive line and garbage wide receivers. Yes, the situation's still not great around him, but it's vastly improved from last year. And I just think having Mike Vrabel calling the shots is going to make things significantly better for Drake Maye. And the other thing, too, with late round quarterback that I want to point out is it's important to look at the early season matchups. Like, don't draft a late round quarterback that you look week 1, you're like, oh, this matchup sucks. I got to stream somebody else. Like, that's bad process. Drake Maye, first 2 weeks, Raiders, Dolphins. Sign me up. He's going to be a top 12 quarterback both weeks, and you're going to be glad you drafted him.
All right, there you have it, everybody. Those are the league-winning sleepers. And again, special shout out and thank you to Justin Boone from Yahoo for joining us today. It's a very busy time of year for him, and he's already playing catch up. And we love you, Booney, and we're so excited for the new opportunity for you. We'll be watching it all very closely. And we're not done yet. No. We've still got another hour of Fantasy Fest on our YouTube channel and also the after party on our Twitch. So don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Jake Seeley's going to join us here, and we're going to rock out with our mock out. That's right. Andrew Erickson, Derek Brown, myself, all here for a mock draft. Don't go anywhere. More Fantasy Fest right after this quick break.